Hello everyone, I'm Green Lycan, and today we're going to be having an interview with a channel called Grow Your Gaming Channel. We are going to be asking some information about how he built his channel and why he's done it, and also get some advice as to how to grow your channel on YouTube. So let's chat. So like I said, today we're going to be having a conversation with Marcus from Grow Your Gaming Channel, and we're going to see what advice we can get from him. So, hi Marcus.
Hey Scott.
So first I want to say thank you for actually coming on to my channel and having this conversation with me.
Thanks for having me on.
So let's get started with the interview. So first of all, I want to ask you, can you give me a breakdown of what your channel is?
Yeah, man. So my channel is basically about helping YouTubers suck less. I normally try to focus on smaller YouTubers who are kind of getting started, trying to get, say, their first 1,000 subscribers, or trying to turn that first 1,000 subscribers. And this is ultimately where I get a lot of fulfillment in, like turning those first 1,000 subscribers into an actual side hustle and sometimes even a full-time gig.
Okay, and why did you start doing YouTube in the first place?
That's a good question. I think there are a couple of pivotal moments. The first was my cousin. She started a YouTube channel, and she posted this one video that wasn't that good. This is back in like 2015,
Okay.
and it got like 20,000 views. And I remember thinking, wow, that is like, at the time I was going to like lots of A-League like football matches in Australia, and we would get like 20 or 30,000 people to those matches. And I was like, damn, that's like an entire football A-League stadium match, like watching her video. And it just got me really excited. And so I didn't really start a channel right away after that, but it kind of planted the seed. And then it's probably about 6 months later. Now I was playing a lot of video games at the time, and something I wanted to do was, well, two things I wanted to do was start a business and also feel less guilty playing video games. And so that YouTube kind of resurfaced, that seed that was planted started to grow. And I thought, I could potentially start a YouTube channel, which could maybe turn into a business. Like, it has that potential. And also I could feel less guilty about playing video games, because now I could pass video games off as like, oh, I'm doing YouTube, I'm working, So that was the main reason.
Okay, so why did you decide to start What are you doing?
My camera is trying to do something.
Okay.
There we go. Cool. I tried to enter whiteboard mode. Sorry, it's an AI camera, so it like does things when I move my hand sometimes.
Okay. So why did you decide to start a YouTube channel with the focus of helping other YouTubers succeed?
Yeah, so that gaming channel that I told you about to begin with that I started,
Yeah.
I grew that to about 25 million views. And it was a lot of fun. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity and that success. And it taught me a lot. But throughout the process of growing that channel, which was probably like 4 years or so, I realized that I actually became more passionate about YouTube than I did about the video games. So nowadays, for example, I don't have anything against video games. I still think they're fun, but I don't play video games at all. My YouTube is my video game. It's like a puzzle that I want to try and crack. And so while that channel was kind of working out, I had the opportunity at one point there where I could have made the decision, hey, do I want to go full time into this like YouTube gaming thing? And I realized, that I actually didn't want to be a full-time gaming YouTuber, but I still love YouTube. And so I was always getting questions, people asking me like, how did you grow your channel? How did you do this? How did you do that? And so I thought, little side project, I just started a channel where I would literally sit down, turn on my microphone, talk for like 10-15 minutes and turn it off and just put like gameplay over the background of the video and just upload those videos to YouTube and hopefully help out other small YouTubers and answer the questions that I would often get. And those videos started to take off. And so eventually I started having more fun and enjoying creating those videos more than I did my gaming videos.
Okay.
And so I just kind of switched to doing that.
Okay, so what would you say is the best piece of knowledge that you've gained from doing YouTube?
Well, a lot of people ask this, and usually I think when people ask this, they're looking for that like one thing, like that one trick or hack or tactical strategy that if they just do that thing, their channel's going to blow up. And I hate to disappoint you, but there isn't just one thing. There are a series of things that you need to do. Like, imagine growing a YouTube channel like plugging holes in a dam. If you just like plug one big hole, but there's still like 10 other little holes, you're still going to lose water. So you've still got to plug all like the main kind of gaps. But one of the biggest things I found that I've really been focusing a lot more on recently has been how important the idea is. The idea of your niche, the idea of your video, the idea behind your thumbnail. We've all seen those videos that have terrible looking thumbnails, are edited really crappily, and yet they go on to get loads of views. That's a testament to how powerful just having a really interesting idea is. If you have a video that's like, I scored a 3-point shot in basketball. Like no one cares. A 3-point shot is like a regularly common occurrence, right?
True.
But if you have a video that's like, I scored a 150-meter basketball shot, all of a sudden, that video becomes a whole lot more interesting. That idea in and of itself is more interesting. So because of having that more interesting idea, your video itself is going to be better. Your title is going to be more clickable. Your thumbnail is going to be clickable. It has like ripple effects across everything you do. So having an awesome idea and spending more time on those awesome ideas, I think people think that you can just kind of like click your fingers. Like there are just geniuses who come up with awesome ideas. It's like, no, yes, it is a skill you can get better at, but it's something that takes time to do. So most people, I reckon, probably spend like 5 to 10% of their time thinking about what type of video they're going to create and coming up with their video idea. And then they spend the rest of the time creating the content. I would like spend a lot more time on the idea and less time on the creating part. And I think you probably end up with better results. So I'm talking like at least like 50% of your time just coming up with like the best, most killer, interesting idea possible. And then the other 50% on actually creating the video. And I think you'll get way better results that way. And like I said, it'll have a ripple effect across all of the other important buckets across the succeeding on YouTube space.
Okay, that makes sense. Is there any other knowledge that you can also pass on to the viewers to give people an idea of what they can do to get somewhere on YouTube?
Something that has come to my attention recently, beyond just the importance of like ideas across everything, another idea that I think translates very well across different aspects of life is the idea of like supply and demand, which is obviously like an economic principle. But I found it to be so true on YouTube. And as a result of my understanding of it in YouTube, I've also found it applies, I've also got now a decent understanding of how it applies to business. I've got a decent understanding of how it applies to different social media accounts. I've got a decent understanding of how it applies to like applying for a job. If you're trying to like get a certain job in a certain area, things like that. Supply and demand, like understanding it and how it works and how important it is and how to kind of get a feel for it and analyze it, because you can't always get stats on it. But basically trying to find that space where you can be someone who is providing the market, whether that market is a bunch of viewers on YouTube, whether that market is in a business sense, whether that market is employees like trying to get hired, whatever it is, finding a space where you can provide something that not a lot of other people are also providing, preferably sometimes even no one else is providing, but there's lots of demand. There are lots of people who want that thing that you're providing and desperately want it. So in a YouTube sense, that's obviously what we're talking about, is finding video ideas and niches where there's a lot of demand. There are a bunch of viewers who want to watch that type of content, but there aren't many creators making those kinds of videos. In business, that's having a product that helps people achieve a certain result that no other product on the market can do, and there's a lot of people that want to achieve that certain result. As like an employee coming into like a business point of view, it's like having a certain skill set that very few other job applicants have, but is in like high demand from all the employers in your niche, right? That principle I think is so important, and YouTube has just really starkly and harshly emphasized it, and it's something I guess I think about it a lot.
Okay. Next question. Do you have any tips on creating interesting titles?
I do have some tips. Firstly, you need to make sure that the first part of your title is good enough that it can stand on its own and make sense in combination with the thumbnail, because across YouTube, it's very common that your title gets cut off, especially in certain placements on mobile. And so it's very important that you have a really strong start, because sometimes people won't read more than the first 3 to 5 words in your title, but sometimes it's not even possible for them to read more than the first 3 to 5 words in your thumbnail, just because there's a cutoff. So that's a really important thing. Another important thing, I think, is the language that you use. It's really important that you use language that is actually interesting if you can. There are certain words, and often across different niches you'll see this, there are certain words that just garner a lot of attention at a certain point. So for example, at one point in my niche, there was this, like the word genius. Genius was like a keyword that when you put like YouTube genius, like how to be a YouTube genius or YouTube algorithm genius, or like that word, it just garnered a lot of attention for whatever reason. And so like recognizing that and using that to my advantage, like I posted one video that got like 3.6 million views through doing that. So looking at for those things, the last thing I think I'll say, there are so many things we could get into, but here's just a couple of things. And that is, again, comes back to the idea, look at Mr. Beast's titles. They're not that like impressive looking right off the bat. Look at Airx titles. They're not that impressive looking right off the bat. Their titles are basically just them describing their video in as concise a way as possible. But they can get away with doing that because their video ideas are so interesting that a title that just describes the idea of the video is clickable enough to get people to want to watch that video. And so it kind of comes back to what we were talking about earlier with how important ideas are. If you have a really good idea, often you can just describe what your video is in as few words as possible, and that title will be really like as clickable as you can pretty much make it.
Okay. Our next question is, what's the best way to fill a video description?
All right, so my opinion on how to fill a video description. Firstly, you want the first like 95 characters of your video description to just be describing what the video is in an enticing way, because you want viewers who click on your video, who see that first line, to be like, oh, this video is really cool, I want to continue watching it. So like that first line of your description actually has some impact on whether or not viewers will continue watching your video, because if they click on your video and the first line of your description just explains your video idea in a very boring way, or just like completely reveals the secret that you reveal in your video, they're going to read that and be like, oh, and their chances of leaving the video are going to be higher. So yeah, first line, make it something interesting that will encourage and attract your ideal viewers to actually watch your video. The second line, like I would usually try and plug something if I can. So if I'm like, I might plug another video on my channel if I'm just getting started and my goal is to get as many views as possible. So I might have in my first line something like hooky, and the second line I have something like, also watch this video next to learn XYZ, and I'll have like a link to that video there. Or like if you're like trying to sell a product or something, you have a link to the product there. And it's important that you have it like that, you do it this way, because YouTube currently like hides most of the description, so people have to like click on see more to see the rest of the description. But if you have the first line less than 95 characters and you have like the type of content we talked about, and then you have your link and call to action in the second line, usually those will both show up beyond in front and on top of or before the see more section that almost no one clicks on. Beyond that, below that, you can just like describe your video in a bit more detail. And when you're describing your video, try to include some keywords and keyword phrases that YouTube will recognize and and help YouTube understand what your video is about. This is especially important when you're a small channel, because YouTube doesn't have any data on your videos, and it actually looks at your description to get some idea of whether or not, or of what the topic of your video actually is.
Okay. And finally, do you have any tips on thumbnail creation?
So thumbnail creation, like I talked about, ideas, super important. If you have a crappy idea, the best thumbnail designer in the world is not going to be able to create a clickable thumbnail for you, because no matter how well designed the thumbnail is, no one's going to actually be interested in it, because just because your thumbnail looks pretty doesn't mean it's going to get clicks. People don't click on something because it's pretty. They click on it because it's enticing. They see it and they're like, I have to know what that video is. I have to know. So idea, very important. Beyond that, I would say having just a few key elements is really important. A lot of people are have like very overwhelming thumbnails, either lots of elements, or they might only have like a few elements in them, but those elements aren't very prominent, and so it's very easy for them to kind of like blur together, and for your viewers not to have any particular place to look. So I talk about it in context of basically you want to give your viewers and your viewers' eyes a place to rest. So when everyone looks at that thumbnail, there should be a very key thing that they see where they're like, okay, bang, I see that. Then they might that will grab their attention, and then they might spend another couple of microseconds glancing around the thumbnail, and they might see another thing and another thing. And there should be very specific elements that stand out that you want people to see first, that you want people to see second, that you want people to see third. And that's just gonna, that'll get you ahead of probably 50% of thumbnails on YouTube. Beyond that, something that I think is interesting as well is to make your thumbnails believable as possible. So showing a screenshot of a result can sometimes be more powerful than just showing your smiling face and you in a suit with text explaining what the result is. Because you can have a smiling face and be wearing a suit and put text on a thumbnail and not actually deliver on that promise. But if you're actually showing a screenshot of the result that you got in your title or in your thumbnail, sure, you can, most of the time it can be a very manipulated screenshot and you can add text and arrows and maybe your face or whatever, but it makes your thumbnail a bit more believable because it kind of gives the impression how did he get that screenshot? He must have achieved it. Even though we all know on a intellectual level that surely you can just fake screenshots. It's very easy. But yeah, the believability is something that I've been thinking about a bit recently. That'd be some main things to get you started.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for being on my channel today. I'm going to wrap this one up now.
Sweet. Thanks so much for having me.
That's right. And that was the interview today with Marcus from Grow Your Gaming channel. So hopefully you've learned some information, you've gained some knowledge from this, and it's going to help you with your journey into the future on YouTube. If you like this video and you want to keep supporting me, then make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and of course comment down below. Let me know what the most interesting piece of information was that you learned from this video. I've been Green Liken, thank you for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one.